Welcome. This is David Parra with AARP Arizona. This is our third show on long term care. And as I have said in the past, we are covering bits and pieces of this important topic, and we are going deeper and deeper with each show. The topic today is the what, the who, and the where of long term care. And with me today is Jamie Flesher, Director of Clinical Programs for Apricus Health. Jamie, thank you so very much for making time to be with us and share your knowledge and expertise on this important topic.
Thank you so much, David, for having me.
Perfect. I'm going to be asking you questions about the topic, the what, the who, and the where of long-term care. You and I have held conversations that I'm just very much impressed at the trajectory of over what 30 years. I understand that you've been involved in this home health, home care kind of service, which obviously are linked to long-term care. How do you feel after this long career of just dealing with this matter? I assume it has to be rewarding and at the same time challenging in the sense that it is not well known. There's a lot of kind of moving parts, missing links here and there. Would you mind sharing just a bit on that?
Oh, yes. Well, actually, it's been over 35 years. I
Hmm.
can't believe it. But I actually got started at the age of 18 in long-term care as a CNA, working in a home health company while going to school to become a nurse. So, and since then, the majority of my career has been in home health. And in long-term care. And so there's a great need to educate people on long-term care and their options.
Yes, definitely. As I'm getting into this matter, I realize that it could be very complex, and there's a lot of misunderstanding that long-term care somehow is going to be covered by a regular health insurance, and we know it is not. So let's
Mhm.
get down to the topic. Jamie, if you don't mind, help us understand briefly this matter. I have repeated it in the previous shows, but I just want to hear it from you. What is long-term care? What do we refer to when we talk about it?
So long-term care is really taking care of individuals that are needing help with their activities of daily living or instrumental activities of daily living. So, like individuals who can no longer bathe and get dressed and toileting and transferring. Um, if they have incontinence issues, they need help with eating. Those are activities of daily living. And then the instrumental activities of daily living are like doing housework, managing your money, taking medications, cleaning, shopping, grocery shopping, things like that. That they're no longer able to do, and so they're needing assistance with both ADLs and IADLs.
So those are acronyms, right, that they are used in this field, I
Yes,
have to believe.
yes.
Yeah. So it is very obvious when we look at this range of services that is obviously not covered by regular insurance. It is very costly, and there are some ways to pay for it. But one needs to kind of understand how the whole system works. So thank you so very much for sharing that definition of the what is it. Let's move on now, Jamie, if you don't mind. So who typically needs long-term care?
Well, definitely our elderly population, male and female, those that are have chronic disabilities that are needing assistance to get their needs met on a daily basis. Those who have chronic conditions, uh, high blood pressure, diabetes, COPD, heart and lung conditions, those that have debilitating chronic conditions, and mostly those that live alone,
Hmm.
that don't have anybody there to help are needing long term care.
Got it. Got it. And again, so this need can arise at any time, right? You never know when it's going to hit. I related in one of the shows the fact that I contracted the coronavirus, and all of a sudden I was confronted with what? Long-term care. I needed
Mhm.
someone to because I had to isolate. How about the food? How about the meals and the medications and all that? Whoa! All of a sudden I found myself needing long-term care, and it became a kind of real to me. But it sometimes it doesn't until you are confronted with that need. So thank you so much for sharing. So it has to do with age, even with gender. I understand women tend to live longer, so they might need it more. And like you said, a disability could trigger. I also wanted to name this show "The Triggers of Long-Term Care," which it could have been another a title because there are some triggers, right? The health status, like you said, diabetes, high blood pressure, chronic conditions will trigger the need for long-term care. And as you also said, living alone, it could be that could present another scenario where the person might need care. Let's move on, Jamie, again to the next slide. And so typically, does it vary? How much care does one need?
Well, yes, it does varies on how much care they need. And usually, like as a care manager, and a lot of case managers will come out and do an assessment and ask the individual, what are they able to do for themselves and what are areas that they need help with. And so we determine what their needs are and then, provide that care coordination. Maybe they need home care services, having a caregiver come in, or maybe they need home health services where they have nurses and PT, OT, speech therapy to come in and help with. And with the medical side of things, Medicare does pay for those services. But on the non-medical side, where you needing somebody to come in to help you with the activities of daily living, Medicare does not cover that. However, like Medicaid, if they qualify, will cover for those services.
And Jamie, you touched on these two words, home care, home health. So is it accurate to say that on the home health, the medical side of it, Medicare covers long-term care type of services, but in a short-term basis? Is that accurate?
Yeah, Medicare is starting to recognize that patients are needing long-term care, and through like the Medicare Advantage programs, they do provide very small amount of hours for individuals, especially after an acute stay in the hospital or a skilled nursing facility, and they're coming home. To be able to provide the little bit of needed service. But again, it's not long term. So if you need something more long term, then it's either out of pocket cost or you have to apply for our Arizona long-term care services, Altex, if you qualify. And you have to qualify both medically and financially. And that's a long process. It takes about 3 months.
And we will be addressing the ways to apply for Medicaid for long from Altex here in Arizona in the coming shows. So we are asking you who are listening and watching this video to join the ride. This is a series. So we will be getting deeper into all these aspects. And let us move on, Jamie, to the next slide. And who typically, and this is to me a very, very important point because who typically provides long-term care?
80% caregivers out there are unpaid caregivers. So they're
Mm,
family members that are living with the patient or friends, neighbor. So it comprises about 80%. And then there are paid caregivers that are
mhm.
either individually hired by the patient or or they're working for a company. and for those caregivers that work for a home care agencies, they're vetted. They're background checked, fingerprinted. They have insurance coverage for workers' comp. So I always recommend, just, check with the local home care agencies if you need caregivers because
Mm,
they're already vetted and trained and supervised. And then there's adult daycare centers that do offer, a, a daycare services. So it's not overnight stay, it's just for the day that you come to adult daycare and then you go home. But they do provide activities, meals, they take care of your medications during the day. And then, so there's also long-term care facilities as well
mhm,
as, so they call it assisted living facilities and assisted living homes. The facilities are the bigger facilities, and you typically have your own apartment, and you can
mm.
walk down to the cafeteria or the dining room to eat, and then you have caregivers that come into your apartment to help you. In like a smaller assisted living homes, you're in a home that's licensed for five up to 10 people in the home, and it's very, very personalized and, setting, and you're still able to get all your needs met and have that socialization.
So it really caught my attention that 80% of the caregiving that goes on is offered by it's unpaid, typically by a family member. That is a high percentage.
Yes, there and
Why is it? Why is it? Is that because people obviously they want to remain at home, I imagine, and they feel better than a family, but it must take a toll in the long run on the family members, I assume.
it is very, very hard, and the caregivers get the caregiver stress, and sometimes their health deteriorate, and there are family caregivers that are trying to balance work and home life, having to have to take time off from work to in order to take their loved one
Hmm,
to doctor's appointments, or
right.
and just provide care at home. So it's really a lot of very stressful for the family caregiver.
And is there any legislation wise that you are aware of that they're trying to address this matter to try to compensate perhaps some of that unpaid care given that goes on?
Well, we're so blessed that, like, here in Arizona with the Arizona long-term care, um, we are able to employ those family caregivers,
Mm,
and pay them. If the individual is on Arizona long-term care, they have a choice of having their own family member take care of them. That's going to be paid really essentially through the state Medicaid system.
got it. And let's complete the last slide, which you basically covered already. So, but it's still, so basically this type of care is going to be delivered in one of three places, or at least categories of places. Would you mind just reviewing each point again?
Sure, yeah. So again, long-term care can be provided through caregiving services in individual homes, and again, Medicaid will pay for it if they qualify, or otherwise, it's going to be out-of-pocket cost. And unless they have long-term care insurance, which will cover for long-term care, or they can go to adult daycare centers. Usually, that's Monday through Friday, um, and during the weekend and in the evening they have their own family members taking care of them, or it can be outside the home, either in a skilled nursing facility or in assisted living facilities or assisted living homes like that.
Got it. So here it is. We are advancing on this topic. It's very, very important that we all understand because hopefully we'll never need it, but statistics show that most likely we will need it at some point, and it's very, very important to understand how to do this. And not only understand it, but Jamie, I have to believe that even how to prepare for it, because I believe that if we understand how long-term care works, it may be a good thing to really consider how to prepare for it, which I have to believe it has to do with long-term care insurance and others, I assume, correct?
Yeah, and I just want to add a little bit to so there are these senior living communities that they can move an individual can move into independent living facility
Hmm.
uh, where they're still independent. They don't need all of the ADL care, but they maybe no longer is able to drive and go to the grocery store, so they can just walk down to the dining room and have their meals, or maybe they just need a little bit of assistance with their medication. They can be in an independent living facility. And then if that facility has assisted living as well, as they progress and are needing more care, then they can move into assisted living facility. On some of these facilities have the independent living side and assisted living side, and so they may have to shift and move to an apartment over on the assisted living side. And then there are some facilities that will they can remain in the apartment and the caregivers can just come in and care for them.
Excellent information. We had the pleasure and honor of having Jamie Flesher, the Director of Clinical Programs with Apricus Health. Thank you so very much, Jamie, for joining us today.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And all of you who joined the show today, join the ride. I say again, we are just going to be getting deeper and deeper into this important topic. Take care.